There's a beach in La Jolla, California, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in America, where a park ranger stands with a handful of traffic cones and signs trying to stop tourists from getting charged by 800-pound sea lions.
Started clearing people out at the very busy La Jolla Cove.
The children it was built for can't set foot on it during the winter and spring, and the marine mammals who claimed it are protected by federal law. This is a story of how one of America's most expensive coastlines got taken over by a federally protected species and the bizarre, decades-long battle to figure out who it belongs to most.
And to understand how we got here, you have to go back almost a century.
In 1931, a woman named Ellen Browning Scripps, a newspaper heiress, philanthropist, and one of the wealthiest people in Southern California, paid for the construction of a concrete breakwater just offshore a small beach in La Jolla. The structure jutted out into the Pacific and curved back toward shore, creating a calm, protected cove where the waves couldn't reach. The whole point was to give local children a safe place to swim. The governor of California signed the deed, and the beach was named Children's Pool.
And for decades, that's exactly what it was. The water was gentle, the sand was clean. If you grew up in La Jolla in the middle of the 20th century, Children's Pool was your beach.
But here's the thing about building a wall in the ocean. You're shaping the water for humans, yes, but everything that lives in the water is impacted too. The breakwater created a sheltered, low-energy cove, warm, protected, close to deep water, which is precisely the kind of habitat that marine mammals look for when they need to rest, give birth, and nurse their young. Ellen Browning Scripps had accidentally engineered the perfect haul-out site. She just didn't know it yet, and neither did anyone else, not for another 60 years.
In 1972, Congress passed the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which made it illegal to hunt, harass, capture, or kill any marine mammal in U.S. waters.
California sea lions and Pacific harbor seals, both of which had been hunted, harassed, and shot at for generations, were now fully protected by the federal government. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, was put in charge of enforcement. And the law worked spectacularly. On the West Coast, the California sea lion population started growing at roughly 4 to 6% per year. The animals got healthier, bred more successfully, and began expanding into territories they hadn't occupied in living memory: rocky outcrops, docks, buoys, beaches.
And eventually, a very particular concrete breakwater here in La Jolla.
By the mid-1990s, Pacific harbor seals had started showing up at Children's Pool in serious numbers. A few at first, then dozens, then hundreds. They hauled out onto the sand behind the breakwater, right where the kids used to swim. In 1997, the city closed the beach to swimming because fecal coliform counts, bacteria from seal waste, were off the charts. By 1999, seal pups were being born on the sand for the very first time.
The children's beach now belonged to the seals, but the legal battle over who should actually own it had just begun.
When you visit Children's Pool now, it's hard to overstate how strange the scene is. There's fencing everywhere. On one side, harbor seals lie in clusters, some nursing pups, some barely lifting their heads. On the other side, tourists lean over the barrier with phones outstretched, trying to get the perfect shot. Signs everywhere warn that approaching the animals is a violation of federal law. From here, you can see the breakwater Ellen Browning Scripps paid for almost 100 years ago. It's still standing, still doing exactly what it was designed to do: keep the water calm.
Feature that made the beach safe for children is the exact same feature that made it irresistible to marine mammals. The gift became the trap.
And here's where it gets legally complicated. Children's Pool is public trust land granted by the state of California to the city of San Diego. That means the city has a legal obligation to maintain public access. But the animals occupying the beach are protected under federal law, and federal law trumps local authority.
So the city controls the beach, but they can't control what lives on it. NOAA is responsible for enforcement, but has, in their own words, extremely limited enforcement capacity. They have to use that power to protect threatened and endangered species, which these seals and sea lions are not.
The result is legal no man's land. Local governments, state commissions, and federal agencies all have a piece of authority, and none of them have enough to actually resolve anything. The conflict has now persisted for over 25 years. It's outlasted mayors, governors, and multiple presidential administrations. Courts have ordered the city to restore the beach. The state legislature has passed laws allowing the city to keep it as a sanctuary. Judges have reversed each other's rulings, and the seals, through all of it, have stayed put.
But while the legal battle over children's beach ground on, something else was happening a few hundred yards north. Something bigger.
We drove up to La Jolla Cove, and this is where the situation shifts from quirky local dispute to something that feels genuinely unmanageable. La Jolla Cove is one of the most famous stretches of coastline in California, a tiny crescent of sand tucked between sandstone cliffs, surrounded by a state marine preserve with some of the clearest water in San Diego. It draws 2.3 million visitors a year, snorkelers, scuba divers, families, tour buses from across the country. It also draws California sea lions, lots of them.
A 2016 study commissioned by the city documented seals and sea lions hauling out at 10 different sites around the cove. All different ages, males and females, day or night, all year round.
The report concluded what biologists had been saying for years. The population is expanding and occupying new territory, and that expansion is increasing interactions with people and property. And here's the twist. Harbor seals, the animals that colonized Children's Pool, are relatively docile. They're small, they're quiet, and they mostly want to be left alone. California sea lions are a different animal entirely. They're bigger, some males weighing over 800 pounds. They're louder, they're territorial. And when they feel threatened, especially during pupping season when mothers are nursing, they charge. In the summer of 2024, viral videos showed exactly that. Sea lions bursting out of the water and running through crowds of tourists at La Jolla Cove, people scrambling up staircases and children screaming. 3 sea lion pups died that season, attributed to human disturbance. One was found partially buried in sand on a public beach with lobster claws placed on its head like horns. The Sierra Club Seal Society called it an emergency. The organization urged immediate intervention, rangers on the sand, visual barriers, and temporary closures.
Residents and business owners pushed back just as hard. They wanted the beaches kept open. They wanted the sea lions managed, not accommodated.
And that's what's interesting to me about this story. Both sides are making completely rational arguments based on completely legitimate concerns. The environmentalists aren't wrong. These animals are legally protected, the pups are dying, and tourists are breaking federal law every time they crowd in for a selfie. And the residents aren't wrong either. This is public land, people have a right to use it, and the quality of life in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in America is being degraded in ways that are hard to describe if you haven't smelled it.
I should be honest with you, I wasn't prepared for the smell.
Sea lions urinate, defecate, and regurgitate while they're hauled out. When you have hundreds of animals doing that in the same concentrated area, day after day, the waste builds up on rock and sand and bakes in the Southern California sun. Residents say the stench drifts blocks inland. Hotels and restaurant owners near the cove have reported losing business because of it. In 2013, a group called Citizens for Odor Nuisance Abatement actually sued local officials over the smell. Their argument was straightforward. The city had a responsibility to address the overwhelming stench of sea lion waste that was affecting businesses and homes. And they lost.
You know what else you can lose without even knowing you're in the fight? Your personal data. And that's where Incogni, today's video sponsor, can help.
Right now, hundreds of data broker companies are collecting your name, your home address, your phone number, your relatives' names, and selling it to anyone willing to pay.
You never agreed to it. You probably don't know what's happening, and unlike the sea lion situation, there's actually something you can do about it.
That's where Incogni comes in. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf, demands they remove your information, and handles all their pushback and objections automatically on a rolling basis. Because these companies don't just remove you once, they come back, and Incogni keeps fighting.
Think about what's at stake when your data is out there. Scammers buy this information to build convincing phishing calls and texts. Someone you've never met can look up your home address and your family members' names. Identity thieves can open credit accounts in your name. The damage can take years to undo.
And if you're on the unlimited or family unlimited plan, Incogni's new custom removals feature takes it even further.
You can point to any specific website or people search site where your information is showing up,
and one of their privacy agents handles it personally. That's an extra layer of protection that goes beyond the automated sweeps.
Use code PARKVIBES at incogni.com/parkvibes for 60% off. Link is in the description. And remember, they can't harm you if they can't find you. Now back to La Jolla, where one of California's most famous beaches still doesn't have a solution nearly as clean as that.
Because here's the problem. You can't clean up the waste without disturbing the animals, and disturbing the animals is a federal offense. The law that saved these sea lions also, effectively, protects their right to produce an ungodly amount of feces on public land in a wealthy neighborhood. And nobody, not the city, not NOAA, not the courts, has figured out a clean workaround.
So the sea lions stay, the poop stays, and property values do what you'd expect when the ocean breeze starts smelling like a fish dumpster in August.
On September 18th, 2023, the San Diego City Council voted to permanently close Point La Jolla and Boomer Beach to humans year-round. What had once been a seasonal closure designed to give sea lions space during pupping season became permanent. The city formally handed over public recreational space to wildlife with no expiration date. One of the first times an American city had done anything quite like that.
Environmental groups called it a victory, though it's clearly an incomplete one. The Cove Beach, where I am right now, clearly remains open.
Residents called it a surrender. And then things got weirder. To manage the cove, the city deployed park rangers armed with bullhorns and traffic-style safety cones. The rangers patrol from the walkway above the beach, delivering scripted announcements.
Parents with children, please remind the children.
The National Marine Fisheries Service recommends maintaining at least 50 yards of distance from seals and sea lions. When a tourist ignores the warning, the ranger identifies them over the bullhorn by their clothing, the person wearing a red shirt and blue pants with a black cap, and logs the encounter for possible forwarding to federal authorities. They've also started developing scripts in multiple languages for tour bus operators so that passengers arriving from abroad understand the rules before they hit the sand. There's talk of installing cameras, talk of building a better viewing deck, talk of fines. As of early this year, the California Coastal Commission was still receiving informational updates from the city on how all of this is going. They're still hearing public testimony from both sides and still asking for better plans. Years into this, the management strategy for one of California's most iconic beaches involves a guy with a megaphone, some orange cones, and a laminated handout. El Nino events have temporarily stressed the population. Some years the animals are thinner, pup survival drops, and females miscarry. But the long-term trajectory, according to every study commissioned by the city, points in one direction. The population is growing, the territory is expanding, and short-term climate fluctuations aren't going to reverse that. Which means this isn't a problem that resolves itself. The conditions that created it, a protected species recovering under federal law, expanding into urban coastline that humans have built homes and businesses and parking around, those conditions are permanent. And I think that's the part of the story that's hardest to reconcile. We passed a law 50 years ago to save these animals, and it worked. The Marine Mammal Protection Act is a genuine conservation success. The sea lions came back. They're thriving. They're doing exactly what healthy populations of wild animals do. They spread out, they find new habitat, and they claim it. We just didn't think very carefully about what would happen when they claimed ours. There's a graduate student at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography who testified before the Coastal Commission in late 2025, and she said something that stuck with me. She said that while she usually advocates for an increased protection for marine species, the sea lion population boom at La Jolla Cove may actually be damaging the broader marine ecosystem, shrinking the kelp forests, reducing fish populations. The closures meant to protect the animals might be undermining the very ecosystems these animals depend on.
That's the kind of complexity that doesn't fit on a protest sign or in a tidy city council resolution. A conservation success story that threatens conservation, a beach built for children that they can't use year-round.
A law designed to protect animals that makes it illegal to clean up after them. I don't think there's a villain in this story. Ellen Browning Scripps was trying to do something generous. Congress was trying to right a real wrong. The sea lions are doing what evolution built them to do, the tourists are doing what tourists do, the residents are living in homes they paid for, and the rangers are doing the best they can with a megaphone and a handful of traffic cones.
Everyone made totally reasonable decisions, and yet here we are. The sea lions didn't take this beach. We made it for them. We just thought we were making it for ourselves.
And now, in a wealthy California community where the homes cost millions, the oldest question in the human relationship with nature is playing out in the most unlikely setting imaginable: a strip of sand smaller than a football field, patrolled by a ranger in khaki shorts, where an 800-pound animal and a tourist with an iPhone are locked in a standoff that neither the city council, the state commission, or the federal government has been able to resolve.
When the wild world comes back to a place we've claimed, do we make room for it, or do we hold the line?
La Jolla still hasn't decided. The sea lions already have.